I've got something else to tell you.
Well, you're gonna be in one. You better show up.
Yeah, how many things you gonna win this?
All right, it's a little after 7. Let's stand. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have the roll call, please.
Terry Reed. Here. Chad Melinder.
Here.
Bill Niemeyer.
Here?
Ryan Hartley.
Here.
Ethan Maple.
Here. Moving on to claims, we're looking for approvals for APVs numbers 27795 through 27842.
I make a motion to approve APVs 27795 through 27842.
Thank you.
Second that motion.
Chad made the motion. Bill seconded the motion. Any conversation? None. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Approval passes. Next, we're looking for adoption of minutes from May 7th, 2025.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the town council minutes for May 7th, 2025.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chad. Ryan made the motion. Chad seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving quite along. We offer space for public comments, 3 minutes on any item per agenda. So, it's pretty limited this evening. If you don't want to talk about animals, you can wait till later.
Because there's a second opportunity.
There's a second opportunity. There is. For whatever you want to talk. If you just want to say how wonderful we are, or go Pacers, or any of the above, you're welcome to do that. All right. Moving on to old business. I told you all we'd have the animal ordinance back on our agenda because, in general, we just want to start working ourselves through this process. I don't know about you all, but I would prefer not to have an ordinance we know is not representative of what we need happening. If we have an ordinance that we know people are breaking and we know we need to adjust said ordinance to prevent that, then let's adjust said ordinance. So anybody want to share some thoughts? Not like we have to figure it all out, but it gives us space to talk about the process that we want to go through in rectifying this ordinance.
Has anyone spoken to some of those reptile enthusiasts that shared their contact information that were happy to help educate us?
I've spoken to the ones that I did prior to that night, and there were several who were here that night, but I haven't spoken to anybody new.
Because they were going to offer some verbiage and
I'm sure
that
they
would help
will.
us. Yes. And have we, along that line, have we done anything to the ordinance to eliminate the words exotic and dangerous?
We didn't do anything to the ordinance.
Okay, I think so.
So it's kind of prudent to try to.
Just because it's open for discussion, and, obviously there was a lot of educating that occurred in that whole process. Talking about numbers, do we want to revise the ordinance to have a number limit of any particular type of animals?
To be honest, at this point, I would rather get an ordinance that is reflective of what we need to have in place, and then if we need to make adjustments beyond that. And so I'm not tied to a certain number as much as I am fixing an ordinance that doesn't work for our community right now. For me, the biggest issues are a couple of our definitions, from dangerous to exotic, and then that would force us to make an adjustment to maybe a couple of the points in 50.06 but I would rather keep it as simple as possible. I know, Ryan, you mentioned simplicity should be our friend.
Yeah, I think maybe dropping the word exotic would be a good idea, because that's such a that word, kind of like dangerous. Exotic is so many broad things. I mean, you talk about fish and birds, and exotic is anything that's not native to the area. So I think we can drop the word exotic. Again, through my talks with everybody last time, DNR and the state has so many rules set in place already to mitigate a lot of this stuff. Number doesn't really concern me. After through my education, I get on social media and see so many dogs. I see a post about a dog out every day. Rarely do I ever see a post about I never see a post about a bird out or a fish out or a gerbil out or anything else, but I see dogs out all the time. So that's why I think we can drop the word exotic. I don't know that we need a number limit on it. The only thing that would concern me is if somebody is breeding and selling, where it would enter into the business realm, that may need addressed. And the definition of dangerous, I think the DNR's rules and statutes and the state's rules and statute on everything really covers it, in my opinion.
The only thing that I would like to, and I'm fine with that at this point. The only thing that I would like to add to the DNR's Class C is what you're referring to, right?
Yeah, I guess when it comes down to that, Class C, tigers and,
Yeah, we don't want that.
things like that, I guess that would be something that we could be a little more restrictive on.
But they're already restricted by DNR.
They are
So
restricted by DNR, but I guess the question would be, do you want a tiger in town, even if they have a proper permit through DNR?
well, I guess my understanding from our legal is that we cannot have any ordinance that restricts or speaks to what DNR already covers. Zach, do you know that, or have you and Ted talked about that?
I think that's a fair summarization. DNR, for lack of a better term, is territorial about their jurisdiction and their ability to regulate those animals. And that's kind of was their pushback around this original ordinance, is that it touched on some things that they already feel that they regulate.
So if they have the proper permit, they can have a tiger in town.
That's what DNR says.
That's my understanding,
We
yes.
can't tell them they can't if they go through the DNR with the proper permit.
Can't we make the rule more restrictive in our town limits, but we can't make it less restrictive? DNR doesn't regulate the town.
That's true.
DNR can give guidelines on, hey, this is the standard.
Right.
We can't make it less than that, because then that would supersede their jurisdiction.
Correct. That's accurate.
And I don't know that the statement, if DNR regulates it, means no one else can regulate it. I do know that within DNR's regulations, there are specific regulations that say no one else can regulate falcons. Or, I don't know that it goes all the way to birds of prey, but I know falcons, there's a DNR, there's an Indiana statute that says DNR is the only one that can. So we may be able to be a little more restricted than DNR, as long as it is covering an animal that DNR doesn't have exclusive jurisdiction over. So,
But that's a solid point. We can be more restrictive, but not less restrictive.
correct.
Well, I would like clarification then from legal, only because the conversations that Ted has had with me has basically said we can't regulate anything. Like, if they permit a crocodile 5 foot or longer, we can't restrict it. So we can't say you're not allowed to have crocodiles. That was based on my conversation with Ted. So if we're allowed to do that, then that's fine. We can have those conversations. But if we're not, then That's fine. I do know that the one thing that I would like included in our ordinance, however we decide to include it, is reticulating pythons or reticulating snakes or reptiles. I just think that's a type of animal or type of snake that I would prefer not having in town limits.
Well, I also heard that from one of the members of the animal community that they're just not nice animals.
So if there's one that if I had to choose one kind of boundary area or restrictive area, that would be the one that I choose. Those are the pythons that are mean and that they can grow over 20 feet. So I don't think we need to list 100 animals that you can't have in New Pal, but I think there's a couple that we could identify that makes sense.
Would that fall under, we had one person, excuse me, talk about she would like to see classification. So,
I think if we wanted to get into the weeds, we could get into classification, but that would require us to get into the weeds
I,
where we might find snakes. That's where they hide. Just saying.
gotcha. I don't.
Do you want classifications?
I just don't know how we're going to address a lot of this based on what we've learned. I don't know. I would like to keep it as simple as possible. But when we tried that, we had a room full telling us,
We didn't try to keep it as simple as possible before. I mean, we tried to figure out on our own what made the most sense and what was logical, but we were educated quickly about there is no logic when it comes to reptile. I mean, no, that's not what I meant. A little bit. That's what I meant. But there's a wide swath going on there that I didn't know prior.
right,
Well, I apologize that I did not do it before this meeting, but I would offer, I took a couple stabs previously, the last draft of the ordinance that Ted circulated. I will take that and modify it, circulate it to everybody before the next meeting, and that way, with the focus being, let's just, whatever it says, let's make it simple. And at least we'd have something to work from, if that's helpful.
I'm all for it.
I'll certainly volunteer to give it a try.
Yeah, I think exotic doesn't help us. I think that the definition of dangerous and then that section G is really the only thing that we need to address when it comes to how do we make sure someone who has 4 geckos isn't breaking our ordinance right now. That's what I'm most concerned about, is that having an ordinance on the books that people we know are breaking, so let's fix it so it's not being broken in a reasonable way.
and then what about that hobbyist permit?
It depends on how much we want to get into, right? So if we're not limiting number and quantity, then there's no need for a hobbyist permit. And we can always continue to update it as needed. I just think definition of dangerous, reevaluating what exotic means and how we deal with exotic animals, and then that G is the 3 areas that probably need to be addressed so that we have room for what currently exists, and then as we have problems, we can address it. If we want to include types, we can start simple.
Other government bodies have restrictions on this. So it is unlawful for a person to own more than 2 dangerous animals in any time within the city. This obstruction shall not apply to veterinarians or operators of kennels that are registered under whatever chapter of that code. So I think that
Is that from a town or a city or?
it's from a county. But that would violate the DNR thing. I think what we need is legal to provide direction on what we can or can't do. In conjunction with that, maybe take up,
With Class C,
yeah, there's something in here about class 3 as well. There's a lot of information on this one. I'll send this one out. I think in conjunction with that, Bill will take a stab at it. I think he knows a lawyer that could probably help make sure that we legalize it. And then I think we could also reach out to, I think there's a couple people who emailed all of us, said they'd be willing to help. I'd love for them to throw us their ideas so that we can throw those together. But yeah, in addition to that, the final thing that I'll say is we do need to make some determination for chief or anybody who has to regulate this ordinance on what the stance of the town is in the meantime. Whether that's, hey, please hold on enforcing this ordinance until further notice or something along
I mean,
those
that's what
lines.
we've already said.
I think
but
we gave a date and it was secluded to that person.
No, when
Okay.
we chose not to continue with the amendment.
Then it reverts back to the old ordinance.
Yeah, but we said that night, let's just hold off on enforcing. That's how I remember it.
Okay.
Well, we could say it again. Let's hold off on enforcing the current ordinance until we get this.
Have you
figured out.
been writing a whole lot of citations or anything? No? Okay.
I just know how this goes. Somebody's gonna get this on Facebook, and then it's gonna be like, well, my neighbor has one, and then she's gonna get a call, and
We had one last week, but that was not Gecko.
I think we need to fix it so that we don't have people who we know are going against the ordinance. So let's get it fixed sooner than later. Okay, thank you, Bill. If you'll take a stab at it
I'll
and
coordinate with Ted, and also I spoke with the lady who is absolutely the leading expert in the state of Indiana at DNR. I'll run it by her as well, so that we'll not put ourselves in a position where we have something that's contrary to what DNR would allow or regulate themselves, so no problem.
Fantastic.
sounds
thanks
good.
in advance, Zach
You're welcome.
/ Ted.
I have some contacts with DNR that I'm pretty friendly with, so happy to check in with them and
Okay.
make sure
I'll
we're
get
all
something
above board.
circulated.
So we can keep it on old business for our next meeting and see if we can't move the dial.
Yep.
Perfect. With nothing on here for new business, has anything popped up that you all are aware of? Fantastic. Any update on the cleanup day as we move to council conversations? Anything new?
You,
Wanna
me?
go? I spoke with MS Consulting, and they would like to sponsor some of what we're doing for that. But they want some detailed information, because Chad and I have been discussing, but we haven't set a date or anything, because the shredding, saying that June 14th, really is a dump that people can bring stuff, but it will cost them X amount for this and X amount for that. So I think we need to set ours further apart from that, because we're going to offer it to people living in the town limits for free.
Do you feel like timing wise, like we should do it in July or early August as school gets back?
So,
I'll hand it over to Chad.
yeah, the sponsor we're talking to, they do a day of giving, so that's kind of their metric, but it's in September. The question is, do we want to do it earlier than that so that we get, I mean, the intent of it is like, hey, if you have things that won't fit in your trash that you want to get rid of, like, here's your chance. So I don't know if we wait that long. When you look at the totality of the budget, I'm sure Yvonne would love to write the check, but in all fairness, it's less than $2,000. We can look at getting sponsors for it, put their sign out front, things there, but it's not a massive budget constraint. A couple things that I think we need to consider is volunteers to work the area. I've kind of worked out some logistics of where do we put 3 40-yard dumpsters at the gym plant? How do we run traffic through there? I also put a consideration on there, and I'm putting him on the spot because he doesn't know about this, but like we could increase presence of our police department in that area to make sure that it doesn't become a dumping ground. But if we put it far enough back and we create some barrier, which I'm sure the wastewater team could help us with, whether that's parking a truck there so people can't drive back there all day. It's a lot of those little things that we need to talk about, what can't go in there so people don't show up with, stuff that
Right, we'd have flyers that would send people
Correct.
letters, especially the like unwholesome properties that we want them to get their stuff cleaned up. And
the additional thing that I think we'd look at is, do we offer or do we solicit volunteers that would be willing to maybe, during that day, work and help if they have a truck. Cause like some of these people may not have a vehicle that could even bring it over there. Right. So we could probably look to see if we could get volunteers. I know there's people I know, Mark Hildebrandt, who has a truck who would love to volunteer his time to drive around. But there's a lot of different things that I think we can do. We just need to kind of, I think the first thing we need to do is decide what time frame do we want to do it. My suggestion would be not wait until September, sooner rather than later. The intent is spring cleaning. Let's get ready for the nice season, clean up the town so it's fun to walk through and all those businesses. From there, you set the date, back plan from that. What do we need to start getting in motion? I think the big thing is for the people who live in our town who don't have the means or aren't physically able to do it, is there a service we could provide or scrounge up some volunteers? I think would be helpful. But I'll forward this out to everybody. I kind of just put my thoughts in it and we can add to it.
And then along the lines of having that barrier, they would have to prove that they live within the town, like I think Nyla had said, sewer stuff.
Yeah, there's a couple. I got some. I talked to a couple people about it, and it's like you can bring your tax bill, which will show driver's license or your wastewater bill. I think all three of those are. The one with the driver's ID is we'll have to actually be looking it up. Some of us aren't really good at that, but there's a couple hands up, so let's jump over here. Go ahead.
You do provide wastewater service to a group of people outside of town as well. So it would have to be those that have the stormwater fee of $5 on that, then they're within town.
Can I ask do we have any flexibility in the wastewater budget to be able to do this? Because
To pay for this?
yeah,
you mean?
if we take it that route, then we could just do it could be like a customer appreciation after we've already kind of had some issues, but it could be a customer appreciation piece, just kind of wrap it up into that whole process.
I'm sure people would be glad to bring their sewer bill.
Yeah, I'm sure they would. But I'm just saying if that's an easy way to manage it.
Yeah, I was trying to think how to answer that, because the recycle event that you got coming up, that's an MS4, so a stormwater event, and that is sponsored by wastewater and stormwater. And that is for paper shredding, that's electronics, where the recycler can come out and pick that up. Terry's got it right there. That's any kind of anything that connects with a power cord or a battery can get recycled that way. So we already sponsor that through, wastewater, stormwater. So I don't know. Is there room for more? We can talk about it. I don't know how the State Board of Accounts regulates those kind of expenses.
Zach, how would we do that? We call it a team outing if a couple of us show up.
I mean,
There's a way to do it.
We're holding
There's
it.
a will. There's a way.
We're holding it at a wastewater treatment plant. we can make it available to customers, whether they're town or not. That way we have an easy way to identify.
And just require them to bring their bill.
Yeah, that's just it. You just bring your bill and you can drop off
You need a
whatever.
copy? Come by and see
That's
our
right.
lovely employees at the town center.
Let me find out what a state board, says about it. I'm sure that there's a certain amount of, there's always ways, but
Government.
I want to make sure that we're staying within.
We can apply for an exemption.
the rules.
Pretty sure Zach can take care of that.
Yeah.
No problem.
Jim, you had something?
I did. As far as the pickup, we have the dump truck and we have the backhoe with the clamp. So if there are individuals that have a large item that can't be picked up, the city of Greenfield, I kind of seen them throughout the day. They had like 3 dump trucks lined up with a backhoe in front, and they were just going down there like marching soldiers. But we have that ability to help pick up some of the larger items.
I guess my only worry, Zach, would we run into any legal issues if we had people volunteer with their pickups and something happened to their pickup?
They're volunteer. We're not forcing them to do
I understand that.
Yeah,
Is there any liability on the town for that?
Right.
It's a
I mean,
good
you can have
question.
sign a release.
I mean,
we could draft it. Yeah, some kind of waiver
That would be my only concern. I hate to look at it from that point of view, but you have to.
You do, yeah, absolutely. We could draft something very simple and
Okay.
I imagine the only way for us to manage this pickup is to have them sign up to have something picked up, right? So have a 2 week before window for people to register.
And a
for-
cutoff.
I thought about this too. Maybe we could also we could go get those yard flags, the little metal ones, and be like, hey, put this on what you want picked up. Those are pretty cheap to get, and then that way it'd be an identifier, and it also would show legally, like, hey, I want this to go away. I'm not gonna be mad if you take my.
I mean, we could put a Google form on our website. I think probably, so people could sign up or come in and.
And I'm sure there's probably high school kids that want to earn hours. That would
There's probably some Boy
volunteer to
Scouts.
Boy
Yep.
Scouts back here.
Yep.
Yep.
It would be a good event to get some volunteers.
Yeah. I like it.
Okay. Well, I sent that out. I think we can mull around with the smaller group to say what's the date we want, and then back plan from there. I think it kind of depends a lot on the delivery of the dumpsters, because you have to schedule those and they give you a window.
Yeah.
So if you do it far enough out, you can say, hey, I want it here no later than this date, no earlier than this date. Sometimes they'll work on that. I don't know exactly who you talk to for that quote.
Who are you talking to?
I talked to Indie Dumpsters. They're out of Greenfield.
Have you
And-
talked to Best Way at all?
I talked to CGS and they were like,
I think
I've
we've
talked
used
to-
Best Way at church, and they've always dropped it whenever we've asked, and then we use it, and there's no window. We just call them when we're ready for the pickup.
Yeah. What I'm saying is if we're doing this 1 day, 2 day event, whatever it is, right?
One.
And then we say, hey, we're ready to pick it up, they put it on a schedule, right? So
Right.
if we have 3 dumpsters and they say, okay, 2 of them will get picked up, or they're on the schedule, it may take a day or 2 to get.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I
you're
mean?
saying.
And that's why I'm saying we need to probably provide some barrier close to the road so people can't start throwing stuff on the side there.
That's fair.
I think he said that he would bring his dumpster and then call him like, hey, it's getting kind of full. He would come, trade it out. Of course, that'd be like, I think it was $100 or $425. I don't have that with me, but
Yeah, 420, 425.
Is that the only place you go besides CGS?
yes, that's all.
All right.
Who'd you say I can call them?
To me,
Best Way.
That way?
the biggest logistical constraint is if anybody needs help, which quite frankly there may not be anybody. We may be spending too much time on that, but clearly defining when it is, the requirements to be able to use it, and what can't go in there. Right.
Right. Because he did have some limits.
I have one more question. $425 per 40-yard dumpster. Is that including the haul away fee? With whatever amount of weight is in there and, okay.
You gonna try to have the wastewater team bring their trash here so we can skip a dumpster? That's a great
Depends.
idea.
Depends on how full they get.
No, but I've ordered a few dumpsters over the years and that doesn't seem like that would cover it all. So, I hope it is. It's awesome.
All right. I appreciate the work on that. What conversation around architectural committee do we want to have?
I talked to Elena from Bolt, and she actually wrote Downtown Seymour Streetscape Plan,
Fantastic.
and it's really cool. You should just Google it and look it up like I did. And the main thing I got out of it, for a starting point for us, is who should the committee be made up of? And what they had were, yes, Main Street, Chamber of Commerce, people from our boards and commissions, town manager, and they had a few others, but citizens. So I thought that was a starting point, so we could get those people and set up a date and time to get this started and then start talking about the facades, fencing, the landscaping, curb appeal in general to coincide with the comp plan.
I think this is something that's gonna be crucial. The town's growing. This is something we're gonna need to get in place.
So, for a price, we can, Garmong was happy to help, right? Happy for Elena to help.
Sure they are. There's probably lots of people who are happy to help for a price. However, do we need to start with just having kind of a call out meeting like you're suggesting?
I think so.
Okay. Is there anything that we need to officially do to establish an architectural committee, or we just have to wave a wand? Is this covered under
If you
council
wish, you would,
responsibilities?
Is there a procedure, Zach, that to creating a committee like this that we need to follow?
I'm not aware of one. I don't think it would have hurt to for someone to make a motion, and take a vote.
Are we making a motion to establish an architectural committee? And then
Correct.
what bite does an architectural committee have? Does it get to tell you yes or no?
No, they set the standards.
And vote, but it ultimately gets approved by council? They send the recommendations, or
Report to council.
Yeah, so, I mean.
so it's like a subcommittee
it'd be
that
an
gives recommendations?
ordinance, yeah, and then we adopt it, and then it'd be just as any other ordinance.
And this committee would work with the planning commission?
It should, at least.
Yeah, that would be, Plan Commission could be on there.
Would
too.
have a seat on it?
Yeah.
How many people are typically on a architectural committee?
Seymour
Yeah.
had about 8 or 10.
Okay.
Do you, Terry, are you prepared to make a motion in relation, or do you want to bring a motion at our next meeting as to, establishing an architectural committee that will consist of these type of seats plus two, or plus whatever ad hoc seats or anything like that, so that we can be more definitive, or are you prepared to make that now?
I could, at next meeting, have the committee contact people and also be more defined with what we're going to discuss.
Okay, so why don't we put the
So-
architectural committee on our new business agenda for next meeting? And you can come with a motion maybe that
Okay.
establishes that for us?
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. How about sewer plant update? Anything new that we need to be aware of there?
No, I just have, it's been a wet week. They're still working on the influence structure. Hopefully by mid next week, they'll have that forward and wrecking the forms on that. They're also doing the discharge pipe off the SBR large tank, so that's about it.
Any hiccups, Jim?
Not yet.
Good. Anything else for council conversations that you all want to address? Okay, moving on to legal updates.
I think I can share tonight.
Nothing you can or nothing you want to. Never mind. Town manager, moving on to department reports.
Chad, are you working on the review sheets, or is that,
Terry and I had a conversation about it. She's
Okay.
got a good start.
okay,
I think we combine the two, and then hopefully by next meeting,
that'll
we've
work.
got that ready.
Perfect, thank you. Next, the meeting, I won't be here, I'll be in Clarksville. I think it's Clarksville. I'll be at the IMMA meeting, the municipal managers. I think that's the June 4th to June 6th. I think tomorrow I'm meeting Rubel at the roundabout to talk about that process and their time frame. And then I delivered the baskets for our streetlights today. Terry got a look at them, and Catherine got a look at them. I think they're down at the museum, and so hopefully they'll get some flowers. And I think we've got 8 of them to line our streetlights this year, so they'll look nice. And I mentioned to Terry, I also spoke with Hancock Wellness on our Blue Sky Commerce, maybe helping fund that project that, you know, we're working with there. So Harold's going to reach out and see if we can get some funding from the Wellness Center.
We've also got an approval to run that through the RDC as well.
Yeah.
And so the RDC meets on the 4th. So,
I think she's supposed to present that day.
right.
Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
That was the
Yes,
plan.
I'm gonna make sure.
And so we want to, any information that we have from Township or Hancock that wants to partner with us on that would be helpful to have some conversation around that prior to
Yep.
the 4th so that we can kind of have all that information in front of us.
Well, we're meeting with Lori next week,
Yes. Yeah.
and so we'll have something.
And that might be, you know, if we can, if they're committed to that and if they want to be a part of that, then maybe we can reach out to Lori, because I think they'll be kind of a big part of, whether it's the fire department or the wellness center,
Mhm.
a big part of the project itself, because not only is it the town, it's our township that we're kind of covering. So, yes.
I don't want the town to get lost in the midst of that.
Oh, 100%.
So,
Yep.
as long as everybody's understanding kind of what the purpose, I don't have a problem with partners to make
Yeah.
sure that not just town limits, but the surrounding areas
Yeah.
help define who we are. But I think
Yeah.
it's important that the town doesn't get lost in the midst
Oh,
of it.
100%. Yeah. I think that's, I mean, even the school will be a big part of this project, you know,
Right.
because it represents our town. So,
All right. Well, I'll let you
Yeah.
ask them for money.
yeah, I'm not, notice I didn't say the school. So, that's it.
Can I ask Jim?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, not ask. I wanted to state that Jim and Ryan and I had a conversation about the drainage on North
yes.
Street. And Ryan has talked to,
Yeah, I spoke with our county surveyor today about that as well, and he likes our plan that we have on moving forward on waiting for it to dry up and jetting that.
what Jim said.
Yeah, what Jim said on jetting that and cameraing it, and we talked about the easement that's back there with McCullough addition and the addition to the north of it, and basically your plan that we talked about as far as jetting the line, cameraing, and walking that, looking at that. He thinks there's 2 manholes back there, and he's really familiar with it. But we talked about maybe taking a contractor back there and get some estimates on. He thinks it's a 12-inch tile from what he can remember running back there. But I know we had the conversation about possibly looking at replacing that in the future and then stubbing it out and giving the homeowners an option to hook to that at their cost. That the town would put the tile in, but it would be up to them to hook to it on their dollar. But at least look at the option of replacing that in the future. So we'll do some more preventative maintenance, which I know we've done over the years. I know the tile works. It doesn't work 100%, but it works. But we'll keep up with the preventative maintenance, and then we'll look at the option of replacing that in the future. I think that's the best route forward.
Yeah.
That's all the town can do right now.
Yeah, that said, maybe a contractor that they're comfortable working with, that they know that's reasonable, that works with small equipment, you know, that would be great.
I happen to know several.
Yep, that'll work.
So, yeah, I've got somebody in mind. I think I would love to talk to about it that has the right equipment for it. A couple people actually. But there's some questions that need answered. We need to go back there and look at it.
Yeah.
But
You talk about the preventative maintenance. Can we do that more frequently? Just because I've had people say, well, the drain was bubbling up in front of my house. I thought water was going to get in my basement. And so, and I know it probably depends on how wet the weather is. And
That's part of it, but a lot of it is that they'll clean all the lift stations out twice a year. And on that rotation is when they'll bring out like a vac truck, or they'll either bring the vac truck out or that easement machine, because it's, you know, I think the easement machine's like a little over $1,000. So
we could do more preventative maintenance, but I don't know that on a 12-inch tile, it's not going to do a whole lot. And you also have to be careful because that's so old that it's probably clay tile butt joint. And if you keep sending machines through there, like root cutters or what have you, that equipment that gets blasted through there, high pressure, is hard on that clay tile. So if there are already fractures in the pipe or collapsed pipe, you take the risk of continually beating up that clay tile and making it fail. Or if it has failed, you risk the possibility of getting your equipment stuck, and then you have to go back there and you have to disconnect your hose, and you have to go back there and spot dig wherever that is, and then try to recover your tool out of there. So you do have to be somewhat careful with the clay tile. And if you send something through there and clean the line on a 12-inch line, it should work for a while. Like, it's an old tile and it does need replaced. And that's something that we're going to start that process on looking at it, but it does work. We know it works. So it's just not working 100%. It's old, it's aging, just like,
Well, they've had trouble for
yeah, just,
decades.
yeah. And
What about tree roots?
tree roots are bad on stuff like that, especially on pipe like that. It doesn't help when trees are voluntarily planted in easements, or things are built in easements that aren't supposed to be there. Those things don't help the situation any. So some of that is self-induced, but we'll look at the scope of what's in the easement, what's back there when we walk that, determine on where the easement's at, and a path moving forward on best way to solve that.
But Terry, we'll work pretty aggressive on that. You know, probably from here on out till probably early fall when the weather's good. So we'll get the plan in place and then, you know, definitely get it done.
Yeah.
Because we know we have some illegal hookups back here because they can't pump the water anywhere else, you know. So they've been pumping it into the sewer. So,
Probably more than,
yeah, we know of a couple. It might be more. So that's going to help us out at the plan as well.
yeah. Okay.
If you need help with plats, I already pulled up the original plat on that subdivision and the subdivision to the
Yeah, I'd
north.
be
So,
interested in that. Yeah.
yeah, so I can pull that information up again and get it to you.
Yeah.
It's hard to read, but I can get it to you.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Yep. Thanks.
I just, for some reason, have people calling me.
Because you live back there. They're right beside you.
It's true. So true.
Anything else for Jim?
No.
Thank you for getting those hanging flowers.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see them.
I think it'll be really nice. Help part of that comp plan of the quaint town that people want. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay.
I got the look.
I didn't give you any look. And trust me, my looks have never been effective. Chief.
Just update on Officer Batt. He's back in the office. He's picking up some slack for me, recuperating well. Spirits are really lifted. He's got movement back in his fingers, and he's ready to get back to work full go. But
Good.
He looks good. Recouping well. Today we helped with Senior Spirit Day. They had any way to school other than a car. If you had a chance to see it, it was
always fun.
we had everything from fishing boat, golf carts, 4-wheelers, a horse,
man.
step scooters, and a young man in a wheelchair that wheeled it all the way to the high school. He wore me out. But it was fun. They did good. Nobody got hurt, so we were happy to help. Also put on your calendar July 17th, 2025. The second annual New Housing Golf Outing is scheduled at the Links Golf Club. It's going to be, I believe, an 8 a.m. start. Yes, 8 a.m. start. Registration starts at 6:45. Love to have everybody there again. I know there are certain people that took advantage of our thing. We want him back.
So you can win every other.
But it's a great cause. It's to help our canine program and equipments. And we had a great time last year. Got a chance to meet a lot of people. Our community is awesome. People are out there, and we just think we're just trying to make it better this year. So if you guys got any thoughts, want to be involved, man, let us know.
What'd you put the cost of teams at?
I think you've got $400 for a team.
But for another $125, you could be a bronze sponsor.
bronze sponsor.
You get a whole too. So
I think Tyler's been working on emails. He's been sending them out, mass emailing. Oh, actually, individually emailing everybody. But he also wants to, those who want to sponsor, I think there's other levels. I think that's going to go out very soon. I
I
believe.
think Wade's got the new flyer ready to go. And I think that may show up on Facebook tonight.
Great. After the page. So, but yeah, we had a great time last year. It's for a great cause.
That
It's,
was fun.
you know, it covers our dog food, our veterinary bills. It helped Tyler put a kennel at his residence. So, and that's all money that we've raised. It's not causing tax dollar to be raised. It's all donation money we've raised for our canine program. So I'd like to continue this program. I think it's phenomenal. So,
Anything else?
I got, sir.
Thank you. Yvonne?
I would like to officially welcome Bri Ferris to our team. You met her earlier, yeah. She will be she is our new administrative assistant and already quite well on her way to learn a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
So we're happy to have her on board. Thank you. And that's really all I have.
Okay. Anything for Yvonne?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jenny welcomes you back.
Yes.
Open arms.
We do have 5 minutes for public comments for anybody who would like to say anything about anything. Now is the time to do so. Fantastic. All right. Council comments. Terry?
Thank you, Jenny, for holding the fort down while Yvonne was gone, and training a new employee, and jumping to the council's requests when we ask, and everything else you do. Thank you.
Ryan?
I have a few things. Welcome, Bree. The Chad will love this. We do have a certified inspector showing up to the bridge Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to finish span B. And the rest of that work should be wrapped up very shortly afterwards. But we do have confirmation we'll have a certified inspector on site Monday morning. So I'm excited about that. See where that timeline falls there, big guy. But
It's gonna be tight because you basically have 4 days after that.
yeah, we're
In case
fine.
anybody was
We're
looking,
fine. I also
from
hey,
4/16.
It's my comments. Hey, I went ahead and contacted NDOT and set up an EPS account and started the permit process for the wrap at 52 and 500. Jim got me the artwork, submitted that a couple days ago, and got all the information to NDOT for that. I'm just waiting on confirmation. So the bond was waived. The permit fee was waived since we're a municipality. So I'm just waiting to get confirmation from that. And if we get that permit back, then we have it scheduled to be done the week of June 23rd through the 27th. So it'll be done before Summerfest, we hope. So that's good. Ethan and I had a meeting recently about town center, and I think it would be a good idea. I know everybody has a lot of meetings on their plate already, but I think it would be a good idea for us to have a admin meeting once a month, or some kind of meeting with the council where we can get together and fill the rest of the council in. It's difficult the way that we have to gather and share information, and can't do that all together, two of us at a time. And we all hear so much and have so many conversations. I think it would be a good idea to set up a meeting once a month just to share all the information that we have with each other. Not making any decisions, just informational sharing meeting. I think that's going to be important to us moving forward, so everybody's on the same page about who we've talked to, what we've talked about, where we are on timelines. Just there's so much information going around right now. I just think it would be valuable for us to all be in the same room like we are now, and share that information. And it's not any information that we're hiding or from the public or anything. It's just getting everybody here on the same page. So everybody knows where we're at. I think that would be valuable to us in the future. I didn't know what everybody's thoughts were on that.
I second that.
I think administrative meetings, I think we've shown that that can be helpful. When would you like to schedule that?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Other than July and October, every other month has at least one town council meeting that doesn't have a meeting before it, so we could look to schedule that out.
Okay.
An
The
hour,
only-
an hour before.
And
I
the
think
only,
that's
the
Is
only
there one
thing,
in June that doesn't?
uh,
The third Wednesday of June?
the 18th does not have. RDC's the 4th, nothing on the 18th. July's got EDC and planning. Then August has 0. September has RDC, so it kind of fluctuates back and forth. I use the town website.
I do too. It's awesome.
Shameless plug.
So June 18th, though, just let everybody know I will not be here at that meeting.
Okay.
Jeez, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
I know you,
But I mean, I think for that administrative update and sharing of information, do we all have to? I mean,
No,
I think,
but I think it'd be good if we could all find a date first, and then we could evaluate how we set those meetings out.
Okay.
I'm curious, what about June 11th? That's off our regular meeting schedule, but I know that. So, but that's Wednesday, June 11th. Is that available for you all to do? I mean, what time? We could do a 7 or we could do a 6. Preference?
6?
I'll be traveling on the 11th.
Ugh.
What about the 10th?
10th I could do.
What about the 10th? It's a
Jim.
Tuesday.
It's raining again.
I can't do the 10th.
About the 12th.
I can't do the 12th. I have a zoning hearing.
That's all right. We'll get there. We'll get there, guys.
How about Friday the 13th?
No. How about the 17th, June 17th?
I'll be gone as well.
Why
I'm
do you
gone
let
that
Chad
whole
start?
week.
You're gone
I
that
thought
whole
you
week.
stopped traveling.
I'm not that.
Not
I'm
really.
going to Alaska that week, so
Oh.
How about June 25th?
What a wonderful day that would be.
There's somebody's birthday on my calendar. I don't know who that is, but so I don't think I need to be there.
As long as hey, it's not mine, so I think you're okay.
No,
Terry, does the 25th work for you?
Works for me.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with the 25th.
Me too.
So 6 o'clock on June 25th.
Is this something you want council at?
Does anybody feel like we need counsel at this meeting?
Do you feel like you need to be?
I will be there if you want. I also want to make sure it needs to be noticed, just
I
like a
don't
town
believe
council
so.
meeting.
I don't think so. I think if anything comes up, then we can address it
Sure.
at our next meeting
Okay.
with
Hold on.
council.
It needs to what?
If you all are going to be there,
It has to be
it needs to be.
It is a public meeting.
It would technically be a public meeting.
But we don't have to advertise.
No,
That's
you
not
do-
what that's not what Ted told us last time.
So, what I understand, it's all of you getting together.
For an administrative session, which we were told and confirmed that there was not a requirement to do the advertisement. Can you follow
I'll
up on
circle
that?
back with it. Maybe we're talking about two different things, or my understanding of what you guys are talking about is different. But I'll confirm that with
Executive session, yes.
Yes.
Administrative meeting, no.
Okay.
what we-
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought I was operating on the assumption this was operating like a executive session, but
Administrative meeting.
got it.
It is open to the public, but it's not I mean, we're going to meet. We're not going to kick people out. It's just not an advertised meeting as well. So if you want to clarify that, we'll plan on it.
I think we're on the same page, but I'll clarify that. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
And then if for some reason we believe we need counsel there, we will give you plenty of notice.
Great.
Anything else, sir?
I appreciate the support of that. I think it's going to be valuable moving forward. Just everybody just having all the information.
Yep.
I like the idea. So
Good. Chad?
Golf outing was on there. Jenny, can we add that to the town website so that it's on? And there's also a QR code that we could probably put
I
on there
will
and,
put that.
start
We're
distributing as
waiting
well.
for, there's a
Okay, sorry.
flyer. You got it. I'm on. I will get it all out there.
We're waiting for the police officers to publish it, and then we'll be right on.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And it will all be on the town website.
Awesome.
Bless you.
Other than that, I know there's a lot going on. I appreciate everybody's hard work. That's all I got.
Bill?
I want to congratulate the New Palestine High School class of 2025,
Oh yeah.
who will be marching across the stage at the football field on May 30th, which is before our next meeting. So congratulations to all the graduating seniors. And good luck in future endeavors.
Absolutely. I will echo a celebration for the end of the school year for our teachers and administrators and all those who are doing the important work that they are doing. Also want to just acknowledge that we got a thank you note from Zoe's Place. Each year the town sets aside a little bit of money in our budget to help care for those nonprofits in our community that certainly reach into the town limits of New Pal. And so Zoe's Place is an advocacy center for children. They work with the police departments very closely. And so we got a thank you note from them and wanted to acknowledge that. Also, council chat will be, the next council chat will be June 6th. 8 what do we do? Do we do 8 a.m.? Is it
8 a.m.
8 a.m. I sometimes forget. 8 a.m. We'll just stick with Tia's. If anybody specifically wants to join me, I know Bill serves as a default, but
When is it?
June 6th. It's a Friday. 8 a.m. Tia's.
Great biscuits and gravy.
You know what? I'll join you.
Look at you.
I'll take an
Sorry,
hour
Bill.
PTO time and I'll join you.
All right. All right. Do you think it would help if we advertised that you're going to be there, or would that be
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll keep it pretty generic, and hopefully we'll get some good conversation. If nothing else, you and I can catch up.
Absolutely.
That'll be good. Okay. I don't have anything else, so I would welcome a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Bill. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Terry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
That's at 8 a.m.
Yes, sir.
June's filling up.
Sure. So I thought that's